Bentley, quite rightly, are very proud of their 100+ year history, because it's an illustrious tale forged on stories of the Bentley boys and historic victories at Le Mans, and of course the modern day rebirth and success of Bentley as a company. But those 100 years are all well and good. It won't earn them a penny in the next 100 years. Bentley knows this full well, and that is why this new Bentley Flying Spur is not just a new car for them, it's a statement of intent. This is the third generation Bentley Flying Spur, and unlike its predecessor, it's going to forge a bit more of its own character as opposed to being a four-door Continental. Part of that is because of the loss of the Mulsanne from the range, so that means this has to be part chauffeur-driven machine, part driver's car for the weekend. Now this specific Flying Spur is a first edition, and that means on the nose it has an illuminated and deployable Flying B, unique 22-inch alloy wheels, and the obligatory smattering of highly polished badging. In terms of overall design, the Flying Spur is a very proud car with a big upright grille announcing its presence, the identifiably round Bentley headlights, with everything sweeping backwards in an elegant motion, narrated by this strong three-quarter line to the rear. When you get to the back, you're met by some of the most pronounced shoulders in the automotive world. It gives this car a really great stance, a real sense of presence, before everything tapers off to a neatly rounded and chamfered finish. As impressively prestigious as the exterior looks, the Flying Spur needs to impress on the inside. Of course, this is where the owners are going to spend all of their time. Our test car, finished in a beautiful dark blue and tan two-tone combination on the interior, really highlights the craftsmanship that Bentley executes so superbly. Again, it's about the details, the neat stitching, the chromed organ stops, the knurling on all of the switchgear that you touch that just adds an extra veneer of quality to this car. Being a first edition, this car enjoys more than just the traditional wood veneers. It embraces a new form of design in the 3D leathers on the side of the door. Factor in a pair of infinitely adjustable diamond quilted leather seats, that same extraordinary revolving centre console as the Continental, and an air of refinement seldom seen in an automobile, and you have a cabin forged of sheer opulence. As mentioned before, this Flying Spur has got to be part weekend driver, part chauffeur-driven car, and so extra detail has been paid to the rear quarters. Deeply sculpted and supported seats cosset VIPs, whilst high window frames affords a good level of privacy. Just like up front, you'll find plenty of rich material design back here, that 3D leather making a return. This car features a glass panoramic roof to accentuate the space by flooding the cabin with natural light, and also a media system to help pass the time on long journeys. With everything being highly adjustable back here, comfort is just a push of a button away. Now of course, long journeys may also mean plenty of luggage, and the boot is of a voluminous size and nice and wide to help get big bulky suitcases in there. Now Bentley recently announced a new entry level to the Spur range featuring the same V8 engine that you can now also get in the Continental, and it's a lovely engine, and I'm sure that car will actually prove a little bit more agile due to less weight in the nose. But this car, it's all about sheer cruising power, and that is why we're driving the full fat W12, because whilst the V8's quite cute, there is no replacement for displacement. It's a 6-litre twin turbocharged W12 unit, producing 626 brake horsepower and a colossal 900 Newton meters of torque. That sheer piston power will propel this palace on wheels from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 3.8 seconds and onto a top speed of 207 miles per hour. It doesn't matter what continent you're crossing in this car, it will do it quickly. Power is sent to all four wheels in the Flying Spur, ensuring that you have that all-wheel drive capability in all weathers to deploy the sheer quantity of performance on offer. An 8-speed automatic transmission takes care of cog swapping, and it is silky smooth. Said all-wheel drive system is rear-wheel bias, but it can send up to 40% of power to the front wheels should it be deemed necessary. Now, it probably hasn't escaped your attention that the Flying Spur is a pretty big car, and, you know, obviously it doesn't handle like a sports car, but it's certainly more agile than you might think. The big Bentley has such a strong sense of assurance on the road, loads of grip, and nicely weighted steering, allowing you to be quite precise. Now, of course, the driver remains relatively isolated from what's going on. It's that sort of car. But there's enough precision and confidence in the overall package that actually you can get going at a fair clip and know that it's going to stick. The car's surprising agility is also afforded to it via rear wheel steering, which can turn the rear wheels in the opposite direction of the vehicle to help turn tighter, or in the same direction as the front wheels to improve stability at speed. Now, it's probably going to be predictable to say that the car's comfortable, but it is supremely comfortable. Set in its comfort setting, the suspension just soaks up all of the road undulations, and you sort of go along on this pillowy, marshmallowy mattress that just irons out the creases. Overall, the ride is excellent, though over high frequency bumps you do get a little bit of a shudder come through the cabin. And again, it's going to sound cliche, me saying that you can settle down on a long journey and be supremely comfortable and not get out the other end all achy and, you know, every other description that a motoring journalist use for a supremely comfortable car. But this is sort of the definition of that. The Bentley standard is right up there. Now, at speed, some road noise does creep into the car, but I think that's probably largely because of the size of alloy wheels. By and large, the huge quantities of sound deadening in here means that you can have a whispered conversation, no problem at all. Now, the best trick of any big car is actually not to feel like a big car, and the Spur pulls this off magnificently. Again, thanks to that rear wheel steering, at low speed it is a pretty effortless thing to drive. You're always quite mindful of its width on narrow British country roads, but generally speaking, it's an effortless thing to drive. Now, like most modern Bentleys, this car features 4 selectable drive modes, all accessed via this really beautiful little rotating dial down here. It feels like a tumbler from a safe. There's a real precision to it, and of course that knurling feels really great to touch. You've got comfort that puts the car into its most supple, softest settings. You then have sport, which predictably firms everything up, and that's maybe an edge that a Bentley has over something like a Rolls-Royce Ghost, because it does have a sporting edge, this car. You've got a custom setting to pick and choose what you like, but then also Bentley, which is sort of an adaptive, tailor-made setting for the car. This is what the factory thinks you should be doing at any given moment. And actually, I think that gives the best of all worlds, if I'm totally honest. Now, should you decide to drive your Bentley with a bit of verve, it has a 48-volt system called Active Ride Control. And basically, whenever you go into a corner, the inertia naturally wants to throw everything else in the other direction of the car. To help improve body control, the suspension actually resists this, trying to keep the car as level as possible, even through really quite undulating and twisty tarmac. It's really impressive, actually. And I'm sure those in the back will value not spilling their vintage champagne. Now, of course, with a car that has a price tag like this, you are not going to settle for a second fiddle infotainment system. And I have to say, this one is super slick. Graphically, it might not be right up there with the very best, but in terms of how easy it is to use and its general ergonomics, it's excellent. The 12.3-inch display is also really responsive. Twin that with a virtual instrument cluster in front of the driver and you have a thoroughly modern experience. This is not your grandfather's Bentley. Now, every flying Spur has a beautifully finished cabin, in fact, one that contains some 2.8 kilometres of thread to stitch together, which is remarkable. But if you want your Bentley to stand out from, say, your neighbours, then you have to go and speak to Mulliner. Things such as custom paintwork, should you not find what you want from the 60 optional colours available, specific hues tailored to you can be made. The Mulliner division is well known for its custom coachwork, so your wish is literally their command, obviously providing you've got the bank balance to justify it. The Bentley Flying Spur is a truly impressive package. It's comfortable and cosseting for those limousine chauffeur-driven journeys, but also has a sporting enough edge for those who enjoy driving themselves. That torquey, muscular W12 engine beneath the bonnet means that performance is just a twitch of your right foot away. And the impressive and slightly alarming thing is just how easily this car will deploy it. While nearly £170,000 is no small amount of change, putting a price on this level of perfection is pretty difficult. Head to yesauto.com for the latest car news and reviews, and don't forget to check us out on social media. We're in all the usual places such as Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Simply search for Yes Auto.